200 meters inside a flooded cave, a diver turns his light toward a narrow chamber. The beam crosses white limestone, drifting silt, and then something that should not be there. A human skull. More bones lie along a dune of sediment. The nearest open air is far behind him. The cave ceiling is above him, 8 meters of water pressed down from the surface. And one question immediately changes the entire scene. How did a human body get this deep inside, a place that can now be reached only by expert cave divers? This is Sac Actun, beneath the Caribbean coast of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. On the surface, the world is bright and tropical. Jungle surrounds circular sinkholes called cenotes. Below them, clear water fills an enormous maze of limestone tunnels. Some passages are wide enough to resemble underwater cathedrals. Others narrow until a diver can move through only in single file, following a guideline back toward daylight. The remains were first reported in 2022. Recovering them was another matter. The skeleton rested about 200 meters from the cenote entrance, 8 meters below the surface, in a small chamber behind a natural rock formation. In late 2025, a specialized underwater archaeology team finally brought the remains out. By then, the discovery had become much more than a set of bones. It was a route into a vanished world. The first clue is the water itself. The person could not have walked into the cave as it looks today. There was no air pocket leading all the way to that chamber, no hidden stone staircase, and certainly no diving equipment. The only reasonable answer is that the cave was dry when the body arrived. That pushes the event back at least 8,000 years to the end of the last ice age, before rising seas flooded these passages. Now remove the modern jungle from the picture. Lower the ocean by 20 to 30 meters. The coastline moves away. Much of the Yucatan becomes an open grassland, broken by low cliffs, scrub, and limestone holes. Animals cross the plain. Small human groups search for water, food, shelter, stone, and safe routes through a landscape that looks nothing like the beaches and forests seen there today. The cave entrance would have opened into darkness, but it would not have been an underwater world. People could enter on foot, carrying torches or glowing wood. Charcoal found near the remains shows that humans brought fire into the chamber. Every step deeper would have made the entrance smaller behind them. The air would cool, the ground would become uneven, a flame would reveal one wall and erase the next. The person recovered from Sac Actun was a young adult man, probably between 20 and 25 years old, with a very slender build. Scientists are still studying him. We do not yet know his name, the language he heard, the exact community he belonged to, or what ended his life. But his position inside the cave may tell us something about what happened after death. The skeleton was not scattered through an open passage. It lay on a dune of sediment in a narrower part of an interior chamber, arranged like a natural grave. The distance from the entrance, the protected position, and the charcoal nearby led researchers to suggest that the cave may have served as a funerary crypt. The body may have been placed there intentionally, perhaps as part of a ritual. That is a serious possibility, not a proven scene we can replay. Still, imagine only what the evidence allows. A small group enters a dry cave carrying a body and fire. They move slowly because the floor is rough and the light is weak. Someone shields the flame. Someone checks the route behind them. They pass the rock formation and reach the narrow chamber. There, far from weather and animals, they leave the young man on the sediment. Whatever words or gestures followed are gone. Why choose such a difficult place? A deep chamber could protect the dead. It could separate them from daily camp life. It might have held social or spiritual meaning, or the choice may have followed a tradition we do not understand. Archaeology can measure the chamber, study the bones, map the charcoal, and test the sediment. It cannot hear the final conversation. Then the landscape begins to change. Ice sheets far to the north melt. The sea rises, salt water moves closer to the peninsula, while groundwater climbs through the limestone. The dry entrance becomes damp. Pools spread across the floor. Passage after passage fills until the path to the chamber disappears beneath clear blue water. A place once reached by torchlight becomes accessible only with tanks, masks, lines, and careful planning. The flood seals the young man inside a new kind of tomb. There is no sunlight, there are no tree roots tearing through the chamber, and few large animals to disturb the remains. Fine sediment settles slowly. Mineral-rich water surrounds the bones. Thousands of years pass above. Forests expand, later cultures rise, towns appear, roads are built, and tourists swim in cenotes without seeing the human history hidden in the tunnels below. Finding bones underwater is only the beginning. A cave diver cannot simply pick up a fragile skeleton and swim away. One careless fin kick can lift a cloud of silt and erase visibility. A misplaced hand can break ancient bone. The team must photograph the position, map the chamber, control buoyancy, package each fragile piece, and carry it through the same narrow route without damaging the cave or losing the way out. That is why the recovery took years after the first report. In late 2025, underwater archaeologists and cave explorers completed the operation. The remains were sealed in protective containers and later transferred to bioarchaeologists in Mexico City. There, researchers can examine the skeleton for age, biological sex, health, diet, injuries, movement, and possibly genetic evidence, while keeping contamination under control. Sac Actun has yielded more than one human story. This was the 11th prehistoric skeleton found in the flooded caves between Tulum and Playa del Carmen over roughly 3 decades. Some other remains in the region are around 13,000 years old. Together, they show that these caverns were not empty holes at the edge of ancient life. People entered them repeatedly, and some may have used the deepest spaces for the dead long before Maya cities existed. That distinction matters. The young man was not walking through a tropical Maya landscape filled with temples and farms. He belonged to a much earlier chapter when the peninsula was an open plain and human groups were still learning its water, animals, seasons, and stone. The cave preserves that older Yucatan below the later one, like a dark memory beneath the modern coast. Scientists may eventually learn how tall he was, what he ate, whether he carried injuries, and how he was related to other early people in the Americas. But even before those answers arrive, the discovery has already changed one simple picture. A flooded cave is not only a geological tunnel, it can be an archaeological window holding human choices in the exact place where rising water left them. Return to the diver's first light. The skull appears on the sediment, deep inside a passage no unprotected person could enter today. For the diver, the journey required training, air tanks, a guideline, and modern equipment. For the young man and the people who carried him, the same journey required flame, memory, and the courage to walk into darkness. They left the chamber. The sea closed the route behind them. 8,000 years later, another human followed it back, not to disturb a mystery, but to listen to what the cave had protected, the final journey of one person, hidden beneath a world that had completely changed.